If it's a 4-year term, because you see the US, we have a 4-year term, and other country democracies, you see, they have their own, term limits. If we can rotate this presidency, we go for 4-year, then but we give it to other community also to test, so that we can also test the ability and capability of people to lead.
Talk about the timeliness now of this conversation and the bill. Kenyans have until tomorrow. But already, even us as the media, our main focus is on the Gachagua impeachment matter.
But you see now,
could it have been strategic that Kenyans did not even react to the ruling on the housing levy, considering the Gachagua matter was there?
The issue of term limit, the issue of term limit cannot be decided in Parliament. It is a matter that has to be taken to a referendum, because it's going to change the system of governance. It's going to change how we are going to be ruled. So I don't think it is just a proposal, and Kenyans are supposed to, present their memoranda in Parliament. But I think the law provides for such a matter to be taken to referendum. So any Kenyan can have a proposal, but those proposal does not mean that they can be passed, they cannot be, can be passed by Parliament. So it's a matter that has to be taken to the people themselves who are represented by members of Parliament.
Vivian, the public participation is ongoing. Once again, you once participated in the public participation on the Finance Bill 2024. Parliament still passed it. Kenyans have until tomorrow to also give their views on this one. Will they be put into consideration?
Actually, on this one, it's even more interesting that the supposed public participation is not even in person. People are required to send, their written submissions.
So similar effort with the Rigiji matter? It
already limits even the number of people who are able to express themselves well enough and submit written submissions, to Parliament. So even, that's even like a tactic just to, kind of reduce even the feedback and just the responses that you will get from Kenyans. So
compared to how they handled the Rigathi Gachagua impeachment one, that is the same effort that should be put? That
is the same effort. Actually, that effort we've seen in this Rigathi Gachagua issue is now the standard. We need to see it in SHA. We need to see it in healthcare. We need to see it in education, everything. That's standard. And Adani, everything. We want to see that same energy, speed, the remobilizing of resources. Same is what we want to see. But speaking on just the issue of the extension of the term limits and the fake sweeteners of including governors and MCAs in, extending the term limits. Constitutionally, we already have an electoral cycle that is entrenched in the Constitution in Chapter 16. I think that's Article 255 that stipulates, how we would go about changing presidential term limits. So I'm surprised that Senator Cherargei would bring this matter up, under the pretext that the president needs more time to deliver development projects. Right now, governors are, there's major allegations of governors dealing in corruption, buying apartments, abroad, using public resources. There are major corruption allegations, even in the national government. So I'm wondering, if we cannot trust you with the little, you're saying that you need additional time. His idea about the 7-year term is that 5 years is too little. The first 2 years are spent politicking, and he can't really do development, and so he needs more time. The little time we've given you is already riddled with corruption, tribalism, ethnic-driven politics. Divisiveness. How much more would 7 years be? And these people wanapenda kuquote Bible sana. Nataka kuwakutia. Sasa pia mimi. They always say, oh, we are Christians, we are Bible-speaking people. There's this verse in Luke 16, I think verse 10, that says, whoever can be trusted with little will also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with little will also be dishonest with much. If you're dishonest with the 5 years we've given you, how much more will you be dishonest with the 7 years? And really, honestly speaking, it is not a priority for Kenyans right now. We want you to seal corruption loopholes. We want efficiency in service delivery. We want you to handle agriculture, tourism, infrastructure, healthcare, education, Say hata tuzungumzi mambo ya tourism, and yet it's one of the highest foreign exchange earners for Kenya. But we are focused on things that, you know, don't even help the economy. I am so upset about this story. Somebody should just hire me to do a draft submission for impeachment of the president. I mean, what is this? This is not a priority at all. And Watu wa Nandi, please, if you can do recall for...
There's no
IBC.
There's no IBC.
They're safe. No
Sheila, you know, Honorable Karungo Thangwa, who was here in the morning, argued that how should the political class, especially the presidency, expect to be added more years, yet they could not tolerate one of their own for the remaining period up to 2027. Do you find it as a cliche?
I think those ones are just doing self-interest and self-preservation. I think there's no argument that will come out of anyone within the political class that will actually buy as genuine. Because like we say, there's just lack of leadership here. Like we're saying, we have more pressing issues. I think we have to stop playing politics with people's lives. I think that is the statement, the messaging that needs to be clear. It is nice for them to politic, bravo, good for them, but we have to stop playing politics with people's lives. That's what it boils down to. Because at the end of the day...
And public resources.
And public resources while we're playing the politics with it. Because at the end of the day, if you find a scenario where sisi watu wa chini, watu wa ground, we don't have basic services. We don't have education, we don't have healthcare, we don't even have chakula ya kukula. At the end of the day, we don't have any food to eat. You think we're going to sit here and take it? Because who ordained you and decided you're the one who is supposed to have all these things and we are not? There will be a revolt that is coming up. Not there will be. There is already quite a revolt that is coming up. People are looking at these things and they're not taking it very kindly that our priorities are quite misplaced. You have to play politics, that is fine, you're politicians, but do not play politics with people's lives. You have to preserve people's lives. Deliver to them what you're supposed to be delivering to them, and then go ahead and choose. Because I can tell you for free, the fact that Rigathi Gachagua will not be the deputy president today, quote me on this, is it going to add zeros to your bank account now that Rigathi Gachagua is not the president? Explain to me, because so far what is going on is there's allegations that the people who voted for this or did not vote for this are getting compensated. The person who's on the ground, Ile Mamamboga, that border guy, how is this supposed to help you? So, I mean, and then you're having a situation where none of these people are innocent. When you're pointing fingers at Rigathi Gachagua, my dear, you're pointing the same finger at Ruto, because he cannot have been bad at the time and you wanted him because he was very tribal. Well, and then now it bothers you that he's talking Mount Kenya, Mount Kenya. Rigathi Gachagua has always spoken about Mount Kenya. The rest of us were looking and wondering. At first we thought it was Kindiki who was supposed to be Ruto's running mate, and we thought, wow, that's a bit state-manly. Kindiki is, you know, a bit more nationalist. But when Ruto came up with Gachagua, everybody's jaw dropped. They said, gosh, you picked the one person who is the most tribal person in the world, but you needed him then. And now, 2 years later, you want us to give you 2 more years, but then you can't even stand being around him. I mean, like we said, let us stop playing politics with people's lives.
Well, we shift our focus now back on track on the Gachagua matter. You know, Honorable Manduku, who was here in the morning, hinted that the minority leader, Junet Mohammed, is, you know, being fronted to take over Kithure Kindiki's position as the interior boss. What do you think of that? Could this be also a strategy by Raila Odinga to get more cabinet positions?
From where I see it, those are speculations that, you know, there have been rumors that ODM side is demanding a lot as a reward for what they did in Parliament.
It's believed it started with the position of the Deputy President, and they were shocked it was not one of them.
Yes. So I'm not in a position to rule it out or neither to support it, because it's under the discretion of the President to appoint the Cabinet Secretary or, you know, his Cabinet Secretaries. But I believe that ODM should remain as the opposition. We should not mix the opposition and the government. And in that regard, I believe that conversation should not we should not dwell on that conversation now, because we are still doing political housekeeping. You know, Sheila is saying that, you know, it will not add anything in your bank account, but maybe on the other side, the narrative of shareholding may cease to exist. And maybe there are people who will get opportunities in this government. There's also something I wanted to add with regards to you know, the role of the president in all these debates. You know, as much as we blame the president in terms of, you know, managing parliament, I don't think if the president has that role to manage whoever or a member of parliament who has a right to propose anything. And I think the Constitution provides for public participation and you know, governance and whatever. But you see now, this public participation has never been clear, and that's why there's an amendment. You know, the parliament should enact laws that will provide a framework on how people are supposed to participate in the public participation. You remember this political process of, you know, impeaching deputy president. You remember people were rowdy, you know, it was everywhere. You know, they were just doing it, not on the point of law, but because there was, they were afraid that because of the Wambora case, Wambora was retained because of lack of public participation. They were just doing it for the sake of it. Yeah. And you see now, the moment they handle, the public participation issue is handled by the members of parliament, you can be rest assured that the mobilization is also done by the members of parliament. And that's why you see people are very rowdy, they are paid, they are ferried. And it brings us to the point of law where we question to what extent, what is the principle of representation? What if people from Nyeri said that they don't want the Rigiji to be impeached, and then the member of parliament supported the impeachment of Rigiji? What is the bridge between representation of these people who feel that Rigiji should not be impeached and the member of parliament who is going against the people? That is a question, a principle of representation that needs to be questioned. So the public participation framework needs to be enacted in parliament, and we need to have a clear laws that guides how people participate in this process so that people don't complain all the time.
Vivian, ODM is also keen to cut a deal on this one. You know, during the Gen Z demos, they managed 4 cabinet slots. And now there's a fresh bid to also, yes, there's also a fresh bid to take over the interior docket. Junet Mohammed as the interior boss. How will he perform?
Sasha, I'm going to say one thing. You know why political parties exist, right? Political parties exist to form government, to gain power and govern. That is the sole purpose why political parties exist. And this drives their interest. So when you see political parties, you know, dealing, it is the essence. This is their essence. This is why they exist. They exist to see, you know, what are the loopholes? Where can we get in? You know, one of the ways is, of course, go through an election, win the election, form government. One of the ways is to collaborate with whoever won the election, maybe as a coalition. You know, these things happen not just in Kenya, but, you know, all over the world. So I'm not surprised that...
Could that have been a beginning power for ODM? If we support Gachagua's ouster, then give us this slot. I'm not privy to the to the details, so I cannot comment authoritatively. But what I do know, even as we speak, you know, we are saying ODM, but remember, when these cabinet secretaries were appointed, they actually resigned their positions. So this is not the official party position. You cannot, I mean, okay, yeah, you may wish to drag the party in there because some of the members were picked by the president under his own prerogative. You know, you have no proof of saying he didn't pick them. The president selected them, and he's free to nominate anyone. But as a party, you know, ODM is not directly like in government. It's still, you know, it's still a separate entity that you cannot say is part of the government. So let's set that aside and focus on things that affect the livelihoods of Kenyans. And key things like, of course, this desire to extend presidential term limits, going against our already set electoral cycle
You know, I think it's Article 132 or 133 in the Constitution that talks about, you know, our elections are every 5 years, and during the presidential election, all other levels, you know, are elected the same time, second Tuesday of August. Anybody who wants to change this or alter this, it means, you know, we require to go to a referendum. But do we need a referendum? Do we want to go to a referendum? Can we afford a referendum? How about we use that money to settle, you know, arising health issues and other things? So I think focus right now in Kenya should be on leadership, on service delivery, on tackling pertinent issues like, you know, corruption, and even the assumption that public resources are not shared out, you know, fairly across the country, and refrain from, you know, issues of extending term limits of politicians who don't really work for the people. They represent their own interests. When they are getting those packages of 10 million, 500,000 or whatever, it doesn't go to the people, it goes to their pockets and their families.
Sheila.
Yes.
Even as the conversation or the focus is on the courts, on this other side, maybe ODM is already cutting deals. Keen to get to the interior docket position.
Chacha, I think we need to remind everybody that ODM was part of the team that was screaming and telling you that this government was not a good government. I think people have a very short-sighted memory. You can't have both. You can't have ODM was the one who kept screaming day and night that Ruto Gachagua team was not a good team. Now it's just we're coming back to eat kind of the fruits that we were told, do not touch that fruit. So I think I'm not going to waste any energy, much as the panelists are saying, to make this an ODM issue. Politics is politics. I mean, you have your feelings and that's fine. But as a political strategist, I would tell you, in fact, I'm always the one asking ODM, I hope you're making your calculations politically in the middle of this mess. That is what politics is, and ODM can't play the politics. It does not abscond them from the same duties and responsibilities that we keep asking them to do. As I sit here, when I say deliver for the people, I'm including ODM legislatures as well. The ODM governors, the ODM women reps, the ODM members of parliament. Deliver to your people. Play politics when you're playing politics, but don't forget to deliver to your people. But at national level, you can't have it both ways. One way, you don't want to listen to ODM, or Raila is Muganga, and all those things. You know, we're going for the one in the church. Now, all of a sudden, you want to go back again and point fingers at ODM and Raila. You cannot have it both ways. You made, you know, you made your bed, now you lay in it. ODM, if ODM is calculating, I mean, that should be the same as every other political party, no matter how small your party is. I hope you're going in and you're calculating, asking, in the middle of all this mess, what's in it for me? Because it is only that power or that vehicle, by having those CSs that were appointed, that ODM will be able to institute this change that they're trying to say they have. Because what they've done now is they're saying, okay, fine. You laugh now, fine. Now they have 4. Now they say they donated 4 CSs who are not part of the party. And maybe, you know, sometimes you also have to understand that you have to sit in a position where you can make influence and you can make changes. Now that they're there, we're also looking at them. We're looking at ODM and saying, okay, you have these allies. They're people who are part of your party, but now they're no longer part of your party. But at least they're people you know within your network.
So it's still proper for Junet Mohammed to take over.
I'm not saying it's proper for Junet Mohammed, but I'm just saying these are other conversations that have that are very, very relevant. Everybody needs to deliver. And if ODM is playing politics, ODM is a political party. It is allowed to play politics. It is not now for people to turn around now that they're seeing that, you know, Gachagua is not their darling anymore. Now they're saying ODM is doing this and ODM is doing that. That's a bit too convenient.
You know, Chacha, you cannot recruit us in your hate campaign. Yes. You elect someone, you now hate them, now you want us to carry the burden of hating them.
We are taking a short commercial break. When we come back, remember we are still awaiting the 3-judge bench of the High Court, led by the presiding judge, that is Eric Ogola, Frida Mugambi, and Anthony Mrima, to begin at the Milimani Law Courts. We'll be crossing over there as soon as it begins. We take a short commercial break. We'll still be back just to finalize on this particular conversation. Stay tuned.
Mr. DJ, Mr. DJ.
Lucky.
Anguka now, anguka now.
When it comes to playing the best music videos, we've got you covered.
K24 TV Mix Master.
When it comes to a line